Dear trading friends, what Bitcoin is doing right now doesn't look so good for the time being. I want to go through a few things with you because at the current moment, Bitcoin is still inside the bear flag. We can see here that it's currently approaching the lower end of the bear flag. Will this turn into a breakdown and will we then see lower prices? Could it be that Ethereum, which I just noticed has already done this, is the forerunner for the next price moves, also when it comes to Bitcoin? Because I noticed that since May 19th, it actually broke through the bottom of its bear flag to the downside, then retested the resistance several times, and has now been massively rejected. And over the last 3 days, we've already seen a sell-off here, and by now we've even dropped below the point of control. And the point of control was exactly in that area. This means our last support is at 1945, and after that, things get pretty tight in terms of the volume support that Ethereum still has in that area. That could actually lead us to lower prices. For me, the real question now is Ethereum already further ahead than Bitcoin? Because Ethereum hasn't done anything other than perfectly respect the Fibonacci zones if we look at it here. It has faced multiple rejections here, the daily chart then bounced further down and continued to drop. The target levels we talked about, which in this case looked like they reached into this area here, were actually hit. Which target levels am I talking about? It was exactly this area here that I'm drawing right now. And we went up to the 1.618 level, and then there was the rejection. So much for Ethereum for now. To me, that doesn't look healthy at all. Yes, of course, I'm prepared for lower prices. I'm actually looking forward to lower prices as well. If it continues to drop, I'll be scaling into long positions, opening new long-term trading pods. But what's much more interesting now is, what is Bitcoin doing? In the last videos, we talked about these possible recovery zones, which is this green box here. We didn't quite reach that. That was nothing other than this Fibonacci level I talked about here. We just barely missed it, and Bitcoin was already rejected before that. And now the next interesting level would actually be $71,500 to $68,800. Why? I can only tell you again, it's this Fibonacci level where we come in here 0.618 because the 0.5 wasn't respected at all. And the second reason is also here because we've already reached target levels here as well. If we plot this here, then we would have a confluence right in this area, this 0.5 plus 0.618, but even more interesting is the 0.786 and the 0.618 Fibonacci. So this price zone would really be very, very interesting. The problem with this is, if we now draw this flag here, then no matter where the Bitcoin price goes right now, unfortunately we would break down below the bear flag, and that would be suboptimal for the price. But the question now is, how exactly is this flag drawn? We've seen that it has expanded. Is this our support zone? Have we perhaps already had a fake out here? Because if I draw it like this here, you can already see. If I consider this as the bottom and then we had a consolidation here, then that would already be a breakdown. We had support here again. Or do we generally extend this area here so that this is our bear flag bottom? Yeah, so it's a bit difficult to draw this here right now. If we actually remove the candles, we would actually still have a bit of room up to $71,000. That's all there is to say about that for now. But if we look at this in the liquidation heat map and go into it now, you can see here in the Coinglass legend that at the current time we've already triggered plenty of liquidations. Here in the first part, people have massively gone long again. We've gone up again, but in reality we've just continued the bearish trend downward. And even here things don't look too good at the moment. Why don't things look so good? We talked about this in one of the last videos, where it was about the fact that after this upward trend we had here, which continued like this, we already broke through this low to the downside on a smaller time frame. But in the last video I said that this low was actually very, very interesting. I'll clear that up again and show you exactly which low I meant. It was this one here. Because here, with a strong candle wick, we actually briefly formed a new low. The daily candle did close below it, but the 4-hour candle had already closed below here. That's why the possible bearish trend continuation was more likely, and that's exactly what has now happened. We've gone further down again and now have a bearish trend continuation. And if we take a close look at all of this now, it really doesn't look good, because Bitcoin is basically doing nothing other than a textbook bearish trend continuation, which could now push us even further down. We'll see whether we actually break down through the bear flag, because if we now move to a higher time frame, and by that I mean if we go back to a yearly liquidation heat map, and I'll switch to the daily chart here and let it load, then we can see that the next larger liquidation clusters are actually around 65,000 to 61,000 and below. But you can only see that on a 2-year basis. For that, I'd have to activate the Pro plan again, but then it goes further down, starting from 55,000 down to 50,000, where there's a lot more liquidity lying around. And if we now take another look at this with the large orders, which is also why it's not quite as nice, then we can see where the next order clusters are, where Bitcoin will find massive limit order support at the current time. We see that at the moment with larger orders over 3 million, it's not all that significant. But what we'll do now is simply take a look at how much is currently sitting in the area up to 70,000. 500 million US dollars in longs on Binance, which at the current time isn't actually that much to really prevent a possible larger sell-off. And that's something you absolutely must not forget. If there were 2 or 3 billion here, that would of course be much more interesting. Up here we can also see a large order cluster from institutions all the way up to just under 82,000, where they've placed a significant number of orders. And here we're only talking about orders over 3 million. Let's take a quick look at this. If we scroll further down and include all orders starting from $0, it currently looks more like people are expecting that if Bitcoin should fall, it will be sold off massively. And we'll also take a look at the whale order analysis to see how much is above us and how much is below us. But when we compare that, we see that the difference isn't actually that big. There are 1.4 billion in sell orders above us, but we shouldn't forget that's up to a price range of 85,000. But if we go down to 66,000, there are 1.22 billion and 325 million at OKX. But what interests me even more is this massive cluster we have here up to just about 70,000 US dollars. And yes, we can see that. I have to correct myself on that point. There are 1.13 billion at Binance waiting here as long orders. That means we now have just about 3,000 US dollars of space below us, but there is over a billion, actually even more than a billion, because we have 1.13 plus 324, so roughly 1.5 billion US dollars rounded up, waiting here for long positions. This could get very interesting, as it might lead to a reversal here and perhaps a rise again. The only question I have is that enough for us to recover enough to really start rising? Or are we actually just going to see a continuation of a bearish trend here? And that's going to be really exciting, especially when it comes to the bear flag and a breakout below it, which could really bring us to lower prices. You might have noticed, there's bad news again at the moment. Iran, the USA, apparently the weapon in Lebanon has now been completely abandoned, at least from Israel's side. And of course, all of this isn't exactly good news right now, and together with the current bearish structure, it wouldn't be so great if we go even lower. For me personally, it's okay if we go lower at the moment. Short positions are open, short grid trading bots are running, and if everything goes well, I'd like to scale my positions in the areas around 55,000 down to 48,000 and also build up plenty of long grid trading bots again, provided we even drop that far. Let me know in the comments, are you in the bull camp or the bear camp? Do you think we'll go lower, or do you think this is just a sharp correction to build up momentum before we actually see higher prices? I'm really curious, because if we look at X, the camps are currently very, very divided. Some people are extremely bullish and say we won't see lower prices anymore, which, as we can see now, has actually happened. Other people, on the other hand, are extremely bearish and say we'll drop to prices as low as 30 or 40,000. That's why I'm really interested to hear your opinion, so feel free to leave a like on this video and subscribe to this channel. See you next time. Bye bye.